With an uneasy heart, Moan walked into Aluca's home. Aluca has already retrieved the old clothes from home and placed them on the table in advance. Then, she took off her cloak and tied an apron, preparing for dinner tonight. She greeted Moan to sit on the sofa and said to him, "This is clothing and water. You can wait here for a moment, or take a shower at the well outside. The meal is ready quickly." Moan smiled at Aluca and thanked her. "Okay, thank you very much, Miss Aluca." Aluca replied, "Don't mention it." After Aluca walked into the kitchen, Moan quietly touched the water in the cup with his finger. However, after observing for a while, he didn't feel anything in the water. He whispered, "There is no floating sediment in the water, and the smell is normal." Then, he dipped a little water on his arm. After waiting for a while, he found that there were no symptoms on his arm either. There are no adverse reactions either. After checking the glass of water, Moan breathed a sigh of relief. He picked it up and said, "This cup of water has no medicine or anything strange added. This seems to be ordinary water." From a logical perspective, there is no problem with Aluca's words. She seems trustworthy, but I always feel like something is strange. Moan took a sip of water and looked cautiously towards the kitchen. Although he had checked his surroundings and found no issues, he had heard the strange sound twice since he followed Aluca. The sound made him feel uncomfortable, which made him very concerned, but he couldn't find out who was making the sound. In no time, Aluca handed the prepared dinner to Moan. Moan wolfed down the fish on his plate, leaving only a pile of fish bones. Moan, who had changed into clothes, lay on the sofa with a very happy expression on his face. He happily touched his stomach and expressed satisfaction with the dishes made by Aluca. He praised her. "This is great. Miss Aluca's cooking is really good, comparable to my maid's." Aluca is tidying up the bowls and plates on the table. Upon hearing Moan's praise, she humbly replied, "You're exaggerating. It's just a simple meal. But just now, Mr. Moan mentioned the maid. Mr. Moan, you must not be an ordinary person, right?" Moan did not avoid Aluca's question. "You're right. Speaking of which, I happen to have something I would like to ask for your help with." Moan placed a hand on his chest and looked at Aluca with sincere eyes. "Do you know about the Campbell family? One of the 4 major ducal families of the empire. My full name is Moan Campbell, the son of Duke Ron Campbell." Upon learning of Moan's true identity, Aluca was somewhat surprised. She raised an eyebrow and said in confusion, "The Duke's son?" Moan continued to explain to her, "Yes, for some reason, I am currently being pursued. I hope to use Miss Aluca's identity as an adventurer to rent a horse or carriage from the Adventurers Association and send a letter to Campbell's territory, while also temporarily staying here for a period of time." After listening to Moan's request, Aluca lifted her hand and covered her mouth, suddenly laughing softly. "Is it that simple? I thought you wanted me to lend you 300 Amir to help you return to the capital." Moan felt a bit speechless about Aluca's reaction. He continued to explain. I'm not joking. Miss Aluca, I am truly the son of the Duke, and I escaped from the capital." Moan looked at Aluca with serious eyes and raised 2 fingers at her. "After the matter is completed, I will give you 10,000. No, 20,000. I will give you 20,000 Amir as a token of appreciation. Aluca lifted her head and pondered for a moment. Is it actually Amir? Why not appoint me as the president of the Adventurer Association? Seeing that Aluca still had doubts about what he was saying, Moan became a little anxious. He quickly expressed his attitude to her. What I said is true. This is really important to me, Miss Aluca. Aluca covered her mouth and chuckled softly a few times. She didn't expect her joke to elicit such a strong reaction from Moan. Sorry, I understand what you mean. She slightly bent down, placed the bowl in her hand on the plate, and calmly said to Moan, I also wanted to keep you here for the night. After all, there will be wild beasts lurking outside the village at night. Let me take you to see the room. Upon hearing Aluca's words, Moan slightly widened his eyes. He asked her with a slightly surprised expression. So, did you agree? Aluca gave Moan a very affirmative answer. Of course. After tidying up the bowls and plates on the table, Aluca picked them up and walked towards the kitchen. She turned her head and continued speaking. 20,000 Amir is not a small amount. I may not be able to earn so much money by completing 30 adventure missions. I have no reason to refuse. Moan is very happy that Aluca can agree to his request. Thank you so much, Miss Aluca. You are indeed an angel. Aluca took Moan up to the second floor of the house. Due to the dim lighting on the second floor, Aluca held a lantern in her hand. She led Moan to the door of one of the rooms and said to him, You can stay in this room tonight. Moan looked into the room and said in surprise, Oh, it looks so clean. Then, Aluca spoke to Moan about some things that he needed to pay attention to. The toilet is next to the well where you took a shower just now. Don't run around at night. And don't open the room door casually. Especially the door at the end. Aluca turned around and raised her hand to point out the last room in this corridor to Moan. Moan curiously looked towards the direction pointed out by Aluca. He asked her in confusion, Why? Behind this door. Before Moan could finish speaking, Aluca immediately explained to him. There are meat of various prey that have been slaughtered, cut into pieces, and are currently drying. In 2 months, it will be winter. We need to prepare some jerky in advance for winter. If you open this door now, the smell of blood will spread throughout the entire house. We cannot enter other rooms because this house is not mine. If you mess up the things in the village chief's house, he will be very angry when he comes back. Moan nodded and said to her, I see. I promise I won't run around aimlessly. After instructing Moan on these requirements, Aluca left Moan's room and gently reminded him. So, please rest well. Moan smiled at Aluca and waved her hand gently. I'll leave everything to you, Miss Aluca. Good night. See you tomorrow. Moan gently closed the door of the room. Aluca didn't turn around to look at him. She whispered to him, See you tomorrow. When there were no other sounds in the corridor, Aluca quietly walked towards the last room of the corridor. She said to the empty corridor, Unfortunately, you won't live to see tomorrow. Young master of the aristocracy. The living young master is the young master. But if you die, you're nothing. Aluca's clothes were partially burned by the sudden flames, revealing the red mark on her chest. This mark had already appeared once when she was at Beber Lake. Aluca opened the door of the last room. Looking through the crack in the door into the room, the floor was covered in blackened bloodstains. Perhaps something bad happened in this room. However, Aluca walked in very calmly. The final sacrifice to the god of love. I choose you. When Aluca turned her head, one of her eyes suddenly turned a terrifying red. She looked at Moan's room with indifferent eyes, as if she wanted to do something to him. At this moment, on the Belland plain, a woman wearing a black cloak walked up here. Suddenly, she noticed a tattered piece of cloth on the grass. She squatted down and picked up the rag, carefully observing it. The woman lifted her head and revealed her real countenance. She is Anne, who has been tracking Moan's whereabouts. She brought the rag close to her nose and sniffed it a few times, immediately identifying whose clothes it came from. This is the taste of the young master. He actually ran to such a far place. However, no matter how hard you try to escape, it will be in vain. And stood up and looked towards the nearby village. This village is where Moan and Aluca rest. You are destined not to escape from my palm, my dearest young master. With a firm gaze, An looked ahead and quickly hurried to that village.